Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan El Rom.
In our top story, the Biden administration is reportedly very close to making an interim nuclear deal with Iran. Representatives from the rogue Islamic Republic confirmed that it held indirect talks with American officials in Oman. Since then, there have been numerous reports of an impending agreement focused on billions in U.S. sanctions relief for Iran in exchange for its commitment not to enrich any more uranium beyond 60% purity, which is just one short technical step from weapons-grade levels. The International Atomic Energy Agency has evidence that the radical Shiite state has amassed enough enriched uranium to make several nuclear weapons, but Tehran has made it clear that it will not negotiate on its existing stockpile. The New York Times reported that Washington and Tehran are focusing on an informal, limited understanding, which Iranian officials have referred to as a political ceasefire. Some sources have speculated that the reason President Biden has been hesitant to declare an official agreement with the terror state is to bypass the requirement of congressional approval. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly told U.S. sources that so-called mini-agreements do not serve the goal and that Israel is opposed to an interim agreement with Iran.
4 Israelis were killed and 4 were badly wounded when Arab gunmen opened fire on a restaurant and gas station near the biblical city of Eli. One of the terrorists was killed in the gun battle at the scene of the attack, and another was neutralized while evading arrest. The residents of Eli were asked to shelter in place for several hours after the incident until the IDF issued an all-clear for the area. This murderous attack came just one day after Israeli troops were ambushed near the Arab stronghold of Jenin. The IDF and border police said their forces entered the city to detain 2 wanted Palestinians. During the mission, a massive exchange of gunfire erupted between Israeli troops and armed gunmen in the area. Large numbers of explosive devices were hurled at IDF forces, who responded with live fire. One Israeli vehicle was hit by an explosive device, leaving 7 wounded soldiers completely surrounded and taking fire. The IDF called in Apache helicopters to neutralize the terrorist in order to evacuate the wounded soldiers. The Israeli gunship launched missiles at the terrorist to allow the wounded troops to be evacuated to hospitals.
Semiconductor giant Intel has announced that it will invest $25 billion in a state-of-the-art chip manufacturing plant in Israel. In what is being hailed as the largest ever investment by a private global company, Intel will build a new facility in Kiryat Gat using the most advanced technology. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hailed the news as an expression of great confidence in the Israeli economy, which exactly reflects the strength of the free market and the technological economy that we're developing in Israel. The new factory, located in the central part of the country, is expected to open in 2027 and will employ thousands of Israelis at higher than average wages.
The Biden administration has denounced Israel's plans to increase Jewish housing in the biblical heartland of Judea and Samaria. The State Department issued a harsh condemnation of Jerusalem's program to fast-track the construction of 4,500 homes, saying that it considers the move to be an obstacle to peace. The Israeli cabinet also approved a measure which will expedite the process for expanding Jewish communities throughout Judea and Samaria. The biblical heartland has been plagued by rampant illegal Arab construction, often funded by international bodies. This unlawful land grab has complicated a future peace agreement by assisting the Arabs in putting falsified facts on the ground while bypassing the legal requirements.
Rafael, the Israeli defense contractor, has announced the development of an anti-hypersonic missile defense system. The Sky Sonic interceptor missile is the first of its kind. It has been in development for more than 3 years and represents a major technological leap in hypersonic missile defense. Rafael released a statement explaining that Sky Sonic was designed with outstanding maneuverability and high-speed capabilities. It effectively neutralizes hypersonic rockets with unmatched precision and stealth. This announcement comes just weeks after Iran announced that it had developed a hypersonic missile capable of reaching speeds of up to Mach 15.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, hosted senior members of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Hamas terror groups in Tehran. Khamenei praised the PIJ group for its campaign of violence in Israel after it launched hundreds of rockets into the Jewish state from Gaza in May. The Hamas delegation, led by terror boss Ismail Haniyeh, coincided with the first official visit of a Saudi official to the radical Shiite state in more than 7 years. Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan met with his Iranian counterparts, who used the opportunity to vilify Israel and discourage Saudi Arabia from normalizing diplomatic ties with the Jewish state. The hardline Islamic Republic is the world's largest state sponsor of terror. It continues to arm, fund, train, provide military technology to Palestinian terror groups in Israel.
The British Parliament was presented with a legislation which calls to prevent local councils and public entities from participating in boycotts of foreign governments or territories. This includes a prohibition of involvement in the anti-Semitic boycott, divest, and sanction movement against Israel. Michael Grove, the UK Community Secretary, introduced the bill to Parliament. He said it is simply wrong that public bodies and local councils have been wasting taxpayer time and money pursuing their own foreign policy agenda. He said the UK must have a consistent approach to foreign policy set by the UK government.
The United States House of Representatives has voted to approve the creation of an ambassador-level position to promote the Abraham Accords. 97% of the House voted in favor of this new position, which will serve to advise and coordinate efforts across the U.S. government relating to expanding and strengthening the Abraham Accords. Israel's Foreign Minister Eli Cohen praised the passing of the bill, saying the U.S. and Israel stand shoulder to shoulder in promoting peace agreements and normalization in the Middle East and in the establishment of diplomatic relations with Muslim states in the world.
The Israeli Knesset has consented to allowing Egypt and the Palestinian Authority to develop the Gaza Marine Natural Gas Reserve. The Prime Minister's office announced that the project will be coordinated with Israeli security services and is contingent upon direct negotiations with Egypt, which will work as a liaison to the PA. The Gaza Marine Reservoir was discovered in September of 2000. It holds an estimated 30 billion cubic meters of natural gas. The PA has already signed a memorandum of understanding with the Egyptian natural gas holding company to cooperate on developing the reserve as well as transporting the gas to the Gaza Strip and Egypt. Jerusalem remains concerned that the tens of billions of dollars in potential revenue could be used to fund terrorism.
Hundreds of cyclists recently participated in the second annual Tour de Gush Etzion. This special ride includes paths for experienced cyclists, amateurs, and special needs participants. The trails take the cyclists through olive, grape, and blooming cherry orchards, as well as through the biblical heritage sites. Shlomo Naaman, the head of the Gush Etzion Regional Council, explained that the Tour de Gush is working to establish a unique tradition of cycling and celebrating the nature of the biblical heartland.
Mexico City has gifted Israel with a massive mural which depicts 4,000 years of Jewish history. The 44-meter-long painting was hung at the Ben Gurion Airport, where Israelis and tourists alike can enjoy the colorful portrayal of Jewish history and Israel's contributions to the world. The painting was commissioned in honor of Israel's 75th Independence Day and was brought to the Jewish state through the efforts of the Israel Latin American Network, or ELAN. The 5-meter-high artwork entitled Am Yisrael Chai was painted by Mexican artist Julio Carrasco. It tells the story of the Jewish people from the creation through the biblical stories, including the Exodus and both temples, to Jewish historical figures, the expulsion from Spain, the Holocaust, the establishment of the State of Israel, and so much more.
A major evangelical leader has warned that the mainstream church is attempting to vilify Israel in order to pull evangelicals away from supporting the Jewish state. Reverend Peter Fast, the CEO-elect of Bridges for Peace, told the Jewish News Syndicate that there is a concerted effort by mainstream churches to convince evangelical Christians to be less supportive of Israel. He said these big churches are using a very loud voice to malign, fabricate, and twist the story to make Israel look like a violator of human rights and an oppressor of faith. These efforts to depict Israel as infringing on Christians' freedom of worship are an attempt to negatively influence evangelicals around the globe who are seen as the main Christian supporters of the Jewish state. Fast noted that Israel is the only place in the Middle East where Christianity is growing and protected, while elsewhere in the region, Christians are oppressed, vulnerable, or fleeing.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is the mayor of Efrat, Oded Revivi. Mayor Revivi, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
So, Mayor Revivi, tell us a little about what is the city of Efrat?
The city of Efrat is actually mentioned in the Bible in quite a few contexts. It's in the middle of the way between Jerusalem and Hebron. It's where we're told that Rachel gave birth to her son Benjamin and passed away on the way of Ephrata towards Bethlehem. And that's basically where the city of Efrat is located today, between our capital, Jerusalem, and the old ancient city of Hebron.
Well, it's one of the largest cities in Judea. It's grown in leaps and bounds, and it's actually got a very big American Israeli community as well. What caused it to grow so big?
That's absolutely true. I think it might have been the success of the city that's drawn people to come and live there. It's a very unique place because it's a very close community, but on the other hand, it's run like a city. So if you want to feel like you live in a kibbutz, in a small, isolated community, you can feel as if you live in one of those communities. And if you want to feel like you're in a city, you can come at the end of your workday, close the door behind you and not know anything about your neighbors. One of the other anchors of the city is, of course, Rabbi Riskin, who originated the city. And he brought a lot of people with him way back then from the United States. And these people have just come and grown and expanded their families, which is why we have such a high percentage of English speakers.
What I've heard recently is that a lot of tourists are coming to Efrat as well. People are coming to check out the city. What is there for tourists to see?
So we're actually investing a lot in tourism. There are quite a few restaurants, there are quite a few places where people can actually refresh themselves. But what we found out in the last years of expanding the city of Efrat, that we've got some archaeological sites which are extremely unique. We have the water aqueduct that King Horus took water from our region to two places, to Temple Mountain and to Herodion, where he built his most magnificent spa. And all this goes underground Efrat, where we are going down underground in 30 meters snappling ropes. And we actually see a stream of water that takes water all the way up to Jerusalem, the capital. And now we're expanding that tourist attraction that people will be able to come, go in it, refresh themselves, and feel like the pilgrimage who used to go up to the temple.
You know, in Efrat, it's known as one of the nicest cities. It's a modern city, but it's also ancient. But the Biden administration recently has come out very hard against building in Judea. Why is there this discrepancy in the policy in Israel and that of the Biden administration?
Well, the truth of the matter is that it's always been the case that building in Judea and Samaria, the Israeli government needed to have either the approval or the closed eyes of the American administration, because there are countries who don't want to see us building in our old, ancient, biblical land. And when we actually want to build in our historical land, there is a threat that these countries will take Israel to the Security Council in the United Nations, vote for sanctions against the State of Israel. That's why we need the backing of the United States that will be able to veto such decisions. So when you have an administration like the administration of Biden or Obama, building is way more difficult, is way more slower, which brings property prices to Efrat to rise high. Prices are rising everywhere in Israel, but in Efrat they're really rising high. And one of the major criticisms that I get as a mayor is that the property prices are so high that young couples just can't afford buying properties and living next to their parents.
But if you go to Efrat, you do see building there. Are there building plans or are houses being built?
Unfortunately, I think by your question, you haven't been in Efrat for quite a while. We haven't had new building taking place for a few years. It's definitely giving its indication on the property prices. We have plans which can be approved with one signature to triple the size of Efrat. It will also provide answers for people who can't afford building and buying in Jerusalem and can live in a suburb of the capital. But unfortunately, these signatures haven't come yet. And we're praying every day that these signatures will actually come and somehow ease the property prices in Efrat.
You've been the mayor for a while in Efrat. What do you see as the future of Efrat? What is your goal for the next 10 years?
So that's an excellent question, because tomorrow we're actually going to get the prize of excellency of the best educational system in Israel. It's the second time we're getting it in the last decade, which is quite remarkable, because each year only 5 municipalities in Israel get it, and we have over 257 municipalities in Israel. So make your math and you'll know that we have a very good and strong educational system. So if I want to wish what will happen in the next 10 years is that we'll get the prize award of the educational system once again, we'll multiply the size of Efrat, and we'll carry on to preserve its uniqueness.
Bible-believing Christians are very supportive of Israel and Judea and Samaria. Do you see any of that kind of support in Efrat?
We saw it in the past. There were people who came, gave donations, toured the city of Efrat. Today, we see them mainly coming and exploring, touring the city, coming to learn about the history. And also sometimes people are a bit afraid of going into the hostile city of Bethlehem, which unfortunately the Muslims have taken over, kicked out the Christians. So when they come to Efrat, they've got an amazing view of the city of Bethlehem. So they can say, we've been in Bethlehem, but really they were just observing over the city of Bethlehem.
So Mayor Revivi, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
I would suggest you come and see in your eyes the miracle that's happening in the land where Ruth and Boaz fell in love, and they were promised to prosper in Efrat. That's what we're doing. That's what you need to come and see. And then you will believe that everything you read in the Bible is really true.
Thank you, Mayor Revivi, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Karen Hayesod. I'm Sam Grunberg, the World Chairman of Karen Hayesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Over the last year, we have been working around the clock to rescue the Jews of Ukraine. We have evacuated and saved thousands of Jewish people, bringing them back to the Promised Land. Christian support for Israel is more important now than ever before. So come join Karen Hayesod in fulfilling biblical prophecy. I'm Sam Grunberg, World Chairman of Karen Hayesod, here on the tarmac at Ben Gurion Airport. And we just received a couple of planes that were full of refugees, of Jews that came from Ukraine through other countries in order to receive them here in Israel. It's an unbelievable rescue operation. And I want to say, on behalf of our partners, the government of Israel, the Jewish Agency for Israel, and others, thank you to all of you, our friends, our supporters, in all of the campaigns around the world, and also to our friends of Israel around the world.
השתדלנו לאורך כל התקופה האחרונה, בטח מאז תחילת הלחימה, להעביר את המסר ליהודי אוקראינה, שישראל תהווה להם בית מוגן. אנחנו רואים את האנשים, הם מגיעים מאוד מותשים, מאוד מפוחדים. לעזוב בעת מלחמה, בלי שתכננו לעבור מדינה, זה לא דבר שהוא פשוט. עם זאת הם יודעים שכאן יהיה להם מקום בטוח.
Yes, I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm tired, and I feel being in a safety place, and I see that a lot of people are waiting for us.
זה מדהים, זה מרגש לראות את העם היהודי במיטבו היום. אנחנו רואים אלפי ישראלים אוספים ברגע זה ציוד שאנחנו נביא לפליטים, גם היהודים וגם הלא יהודים שנמצאים עכשיו באוקראינה. זו שעתה היפה ביותר של עם ישראל.
Yeah, my husband stayed in Ukraine because he can't come with us. Why? Because it's restricted now. I really hope he can come to us. But he is helping right now, and I hope it will stop soon and we can be together.
And who is it there on the borders helping the Jews of Ukraine and bringing them out? It is the Jewish Agency with the support of Keren Hayesod and World Jewish Communities that is there, And we do that for the Jewish future, for the Jewish present, and it's really a beautiful manifestation of Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze Lazeh. Because we were there before, we are there today, and we will be there in the future, vouching for one another, reaching out to one another.
Without your generous help and support, we would not be able to make this rescue operation possible. To do everything we can to garner the resources and to bring as many people to Israel as possible and to save lives.
Hey everybody, we're Pastors Larry and Tiz Huck, and what an honor it is to talk with you today about standing with the nation of Israel, fulfilling Bible prophecy, and partnering with not only the nation of Israel, but the Jewish people around the world. You know, Tiz and I have had the privilege of working with Karen Hayazot for many, many years in many projects concerning Jewish people in the land, but even more important, Jewish people that are being brought from around the world, saving their lives back to the nation of Israel. You know, the Bible prophesies that in the last days, Gentiles will be a part of this great move of God of Jews making what's called Aliyah, returning to the land of Israel. The prophet said, we'll bring them in our arms and on our shoulders. Just think about that. Today, God wants you to be a part of fulfilling Bible prophecy. And the very first prophecy with promise is in Genesis 12, where God Almighty says, I will bless those who bless the nation of Israel. So if you'd like to be a part of seeing that blessing on you and your family, if you'd like to be a part of fulfilling Bible prophecy, we're going to put information on the screen, and we tell you that every penny you send will be sent to bless the nation of Israel. God bless you, and thank you for standing with the Jewish people and the nation of Israel.
Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, visit khisrael.org.
And now, shining light from Israel.
Located in southern Israel, very close to the Mediterranean coast. Welcome to Sderot, a city of many colors, culture, good food, historical sites, heritage sites, and excellent tourism. What a beautiful view. Look from here. You can see in our western side the Mediterranean Sea. From this hill, we can see very clearly the Eretz Pleshet, the land of the Plishtim during the Bible times. If we look this side, we can see the city of Sderot, but you know, it reminds me a story from the Bible. When Samson, the hero Samson, fight against the Plishtim over there, he take off the Gaza gate and walk from here to Hebron. And in the middle of the way, the city of Sderot. A lot of tourists, as you can see, come to visit our beautiful area. The awesome development of the city of Sderot. People around the country, people around the world, Jewish from all the world, come to build their home in the Bible state of Eretz Israel, of Israel, especially here in Sderot. Welcome to Sderot Museum. This museum was established by the government of Israel, and it was established also by the municipality of Sderot. This museum tells us many stories, but in this room, as you can see, we have the music story of Sderot. When the State of Israel was established in 1948, many people around the world wanted to come and make emigration, make aliyah to come to Eretz Israel. People came to Sderot from Morocco. My parents came from Morocco. People came from Iran. People came from Egypt. People came from the Soviet Union. So people came from all over the world. And here in Sderot, what happened here is a melting pot that make this beautiful music, as you can see here, a mixed music from all the world. You can come to this museum and you can enjoy the music that go out from Sderot. In this room, you can see the history of Sderot from the beginning of the Sderot until these days. But now we use this room to teach music, to make movies, to make shows, to bring young people here to learn about Sderot. The story of Israel is the story of the Israeli nation returning back from all around the world after 2,000 years. And this Israeli nation bring with them a beautiful culture, and Sderot is even more than that. When the State of Israel was established, the State of Israel, the government had to deal with millions of immigrants around the world, and one of the solutions was to build those kind of transit point. When my parents came from Morocco into this transit point, they used those tools. I remember when in Shabbat or in the Chagim, the Jewish festivals, when we want to drink cola, and we use these sipholux to drink soda. A very special caricature from Israeli newspaper during the 15th. You can see here like a melting pot, a great machine, and many kinds of Jews come all around the world, come into the melting pot, and what we have in the other side, the tzabar, the classic Israeli with the special hat, with the special language in his homeland. Thank you for watching. Next time you visit Israel, make sure you visit Sderot and come to see the beautiful melt pot of the beautiful culture here in Sderot.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan Elron, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.